There are thousands of ways to make art. Jake Early makes his art by printing serigraphs. He loves that it's hands-on and technical, but it's also the best way to duplicate his work. Every early serigraph is a hand-printed, original piece, allowing the viewer an intimate look at his vision, created one layer at a time. The process is extremely time-consuming and involves numerous steps. And the more colors Early decides to print, the more complicated the process becomes. Every color is printed individually, but before the colors can be printed, each color first requires its own layer of film, which Early meticulously cuts by hand, one layer at a time, all the while checking and double-checking that each layer lines up precisely to the previous layer. It has to be perfect. Early built all of his equipment out of scrap parts and a hunch it would all work. It's taken him a few years to work out the kinks, and there are countless idiosyncrasies in making it all function properly. But it's just the way he likes it. Each step is labor-intensive and time-consuming, but it's worth it. And it's motivating to see his vision develop as he gets closer to the final printing. After exposing and developing, each screen gets coated with a masking liquid used to seal any open areas. Masking is essential to ensure the ink only prints where he wants it to. After screen prep, Early is ready to mix ink for the first layer of color. Every color on every print is custom mixed to suit Early's vision. Most of his prints include the use of metallic inks, which are created by mixing metal flake into the ink. In this case, it's aluminum. Early mixes each color until it's the right color, and when he finds the right color, he's ready to apply it to paper. Printing a serigraph by hand is a physical, repetitive process, but it also demands a lot of attention. It takes finesse, but also strength and endurance to pull the squeegee perfectly, with just enough pressure and speed hundreds of times, and that's just for one color. But it's not just pulling a squeegee over and over. He has to focus on how the ink hits paper. He's constantly checking for imperfections. He also has to keep the temperature and consistency of the ink perfectly balanced and evenly spread. And so it goes. Pull after pull, hour after hour. The process repeats itself with each layer. Mixing each color has its own challenges, and some mixes go faster than others. It's an intuitive method, and finding the right color can take time. But he knows when he's nailed it. Carefully checking the press is properly set up is critical. But the ink begins drying the minute Early first pours it on the screen. So he must work quickly and precisely once the ink is poured. Early must print each color as quickly as possible, but then he has to wait for it to dry completely before starting on the next color. And that can take hours. Some steps in the process are faster than others, but the hours of prep work remain the same. Prepping each screen and setting it up on press, lots and lots of taping, aligning the current color with the previous one. It can get tedious, but getting the prep work right is vital for a successful outcome. It's time to print the last color, and the moment Early finally learns if all the hours of drawing, cutting film, exposing screens, setting up the press, and mixing ink will deliver the image he imagined. A strong, steady stroke of the squeegee is critical, every single time. It gets tiring after thousands of pulls, but when the last color emerges on paper, it's like magic. Now that the final color is drying, it's almost time to celebrate. Even artists need to clean and stay organized. Early gets his screen stripped of ink, his squeegees cleaned, the tape pulled, and his shop in order before calling it a day. It's finally time to trim the prints to their final size. This 100-year-old paper cutter has stories to tell, and in some way adds to the final look of the piece. It almost looks like an old carnival ride, and Early has as much fun with it. What started as an idea in his head is now out on paper for everyone to see. This isn't the fastest or most modern way to make art, but it's Jake's way, and it's the way he loves. It shows.